We are in the year of Grand Theft Auto 6. The first thing you're probably thinking is that there is a good chance that the game is going to get delayed into 2026. To that I say, yes, you're right. It is likely that the game will get delayed. But just because it is probable doesn't mean it will happen. So far, Rockstar's official word is 2025. Innocent until proven guilty. So 2025 until they say otherwise. Grand Theft Auto 6 has already been announced for PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. As of right now, the marketing strategy for Xbox has changed quite a bit with their recent campaign of saying this is an Xbox to many different devices that aren't real Xboxes. But what they really mean is that these electronic devices are now becoming Game Pass streaming capable. PlayStation, on the other hand, is still implementing the traditional video game console approach. The PlayStation Portal started off strictly as a PS5 accessory, being a device that you can remote play your games on. Relatively recently, though, it's become a PS Plus streaming capable device, even if it is in beta status. That, to me, actually makes it worth its $200 price tag, because it's no longer an accessory to the PS5. You can now just own a PS Portal and play games on it via streaming as long as you have a premium PS Plus account. This is all just to say that while I guess PlayStation's streaming services are off to a good start, overall their focus is still selling video game hardware. And with that being said, I wonder if Sony is working with Take-Two, the publisher of Grand Theft Auto, to secure a month of exclusivity. I say 1 month for 3 reasons. The first is because this isn't an idea that I myself came up with. Grand Theft Auto 6 being exclusive to PS5 for 1 month is actually a very old rumor, which I'll get into reinvigorating in a minute. The second is that if Sony did want to secure some level of exclusivity for a game like Grand Theft Auto 6, it would be exorbitantly expensive. The price of making the game exclusive for 30 or 31 days is probably all Sony would be able to offer and afford. And the third reason is combined with the second reason in that for an IP like GTA 6, 1 month of exclusivity would make sense over, say, even 6 months or a year. The very first time I heard the rumor about Grand Theft Auto 6 being exclusive to PS5 was all the way back in 2019 on Mystic Ryan's weekly series of Let's Talk PlayStation on YouTube. I'll link the specific video in the description below, timestamped to when Ryan is talking about it. There was even a time long ago that Ryan mentioned me in one of his videos, and I'll link that video in the description too. I've been subscribed to Ryan's channel for over a decade now. If you're a fan of the PlayStation brand and are looking for the most unbiased feedback and content, I'd recommend subscribing to Ryan's channel too. So getting into the rumor, there was a post on Pastebin that mentioned that Sony paid a huge sum of cash to Take-Two or Rockstar to secure exclusivity of Grand Theft Auto 6 for 1 month on the PS5. Now, rumors like this can pop up all the time, but this comes from the same person who leaked the specifications for the PS5 all the way back in 2018. The specs in that Pastebin post turned out to be accurate, and that is the reason why the source for this rumor is credible. The fact that the Pastebin post itself has since been deleted is, in my opinion, the biggest indication that it was truthful. As far as Take-Two agreeing to make such a deal with Sony, let's take a look back in the history of Rockstar making exclusive deals in the first place. According to Wikipedia, the original Grand Theft Auto sold over 6 million copies. However, the franchise just didn't become the household name overnight success it is today until the release of Grand Theft Auto 3. And when we think about the exclusive history of Grand Theft Auto 3, we think about how it was exclusive to the PS2 for about 2 years before finally being available in the Grand Theft Auto Double Pack for Xbox in 2003. Interestingly enough, the makers of GTA 3 approached Microsoft for an exclusive deal first, but Microsoft turned them down. Then they went to Sony, and that's how the exclusive deal started. GTA 3 was exclusive to PS2 for 2 years, Vice City was exclusive for about 1 year, and San Andreas was exclusive for like half a year. The PC releases came sometime in between those for these 6th generation GTA games. There were a few PlayStation portable games too, Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories. These games were released a year apart, and the first one is among the best-selling PSP games of all time. Aside from Liberty City Stories also being available on iOS and Android, these games notably always remained console exclusive to the PlayStation ecosystem. The only other console that they ever released on was the PS2. They never even had PC releases. I wonder if those games were either 100% funded by Sony, or if Take-Two just thought that they were essentially too similar to GTA 3 and Vice City respectively, that they just weren't worth the cost of porting to more platforms. There was one more GTA game available on PSP, and that was Chinatown Wars, but that game was originally a Nintendo DS game. I don't think they even intended for making it multi-platform, but only did so because the DS version underperformed sales-wise. During the 7th generation, we had Grand Theft Auto 4. I cannot find a source for this, but I heard a rumor back in the day that Take-Two once again approached Sony to offer timed exclusivity since they already had a good working relationship of doing so in the past. However, Sony notoriously had a very rocky start with the PS3, and they likely just wouldn't have even been able to afford a deal at that time. They did secure exclusivity of a new IP, Agent, to which my knowledge not only never even saw the light of day, but has since been cancelled. Microsoft, on the other hand, had the upper hand and secured exclusive content for GTA 4. This was in addition to a simultaneous release of the game on both PS3 and 360. Microsoft referred to this deal as a strategic alliance with Rockstar Games and secured it back in 2006, 2 years before the game was even released. Although I do think the game was supposed to originally release in 2007, but got delayed to 2008. The exclusive content came in the form of 2 downloadable expansion packs. The first was The Lost and Damned, and the second was The Ballad of Gay Tony. It was the first time since the original Grand Theft Auto that Rockstar had developed expansions to a base game. The OG had 2 expansions. The first was London 1969, and the second was London 1961. They both released exactly a decade before GTA 4's expansions, and that marked the only time in the franchise's history that they used the real name of a city instead of basing a location on a real-life setting and then just changing the name of it. Anyway, getting back to Xbox 360, both The Ballad of Gay Tony and The Lost and Damned were released in the year 2010 for PS3 and PC. That honestly surprised me back in the day because of the whole strategic alliance talk that Microsoft was doing. I thought that the DLC would remain permanently exclusive to 360, the same way Vice City Stories and Liberty City Stories remained console exclusive to the PlayStation ecosystem. But 2009 was the last time that any major Grand Theft Auto game was subject to exclusivity. Grand Theft Auto 5 broke all of the records of its predecessor, and to my knowledge, didn't employ any sort of exclusive deals with Sony or Microsoft. The game never saw the light of day on Nintendo Switch, but I think that was Rockstar's own choice. 2013 was 12 years ago now. Grand Theft Auto 5 has since sold over 200 million copies, and the franchise itself has sold well over 425 million copies worldwide. So does this rumor stand any chance of being true? I think yes, it does. First of all, as I said before, the pastebin post has already been deleted. Perhaps Take-Two asked them to take it down because more than a few things in it were valid. After all, the same leaker was right about the PS5 specs long before the console was unveiled in 2020. Secondly, Take-Two has partnered up with Sony more times than they partnered up with Microsoft. GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, and Vice City Stories were all exclusive to the PlayStation series of consoles at some point in time, and some of them still are. That's 5 titles, as opposed to Grand Theft Auto: The Lost and Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony, the only 2 titles that were ever exclusive to Xbox. Thirdly, as I mentioned earlier, how Microsoft is pivoting more heavily to Game Pass streaming rather than traditional video game console sales, which is still Sony's main focus. While GTA 5 and GTA Online were available on Game Pass at some point in time, GTA 6 is obviously going to start off as a traditional video game release, which means selling at a full price on the shelves of retail stores. Since that's the market which Sony has the biggest share in, they're the most likely platform holder to approach Take-Two with a deal like this. The third point flows right into the fourth point, and that's the fact that the sales ratio of the PS5 is somewhere in the range of 5-1 when compared to the Xbox Series consoles. Industry analysts were probably predicting Sony to have the lead over Microsoft even during the 8th generation when the PS4 was outselling the Xbox One. Now, if Sony did approach Take-Two for an exclusive deal, they would probably think that it's a safe deal to make since the vast majority of the game's sales will be on PS5 anyway. So a check written out to them from Sony in the billions would just be the cherry on top for them. Even though Microsoft has the pockets deep enough to beat whatever deals Sony would be offering Take-Two, it's likely that the higher-ups at Microsoft wouldn't find making a deal like this worth it, not even for GTA 6. Just like how quickly Activision and Bethesda games started releasing on PS5 relatively shortly after Microsoft acquired both. It's speculated that the higher-ups at Microsoft forced Phil Spencer and the leaders at Xbox to do that. The fifth point is performance. Black Myth Wukong was one of the best-selling games of last year. It was announced for both PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, but as of recording this video, it's still only available on PS5 in addition to PC. There was a lot of speculation surrounding why, starting off with the Series S causing performance issues, which required game science to delay the Xbox versions of the game. Then, Paul Tassi from Forbes, and even Phil Spencer low-key, insinuated that Sony had a deal in place for timed exclusivity. That was one wild ride. But eventually, and most recently, Game Science confirmed that the optimization of the Series S version of the game is what's causing the delay of the Xbox release. GTA 6, being the game that it's gonna be, will push PS5 and Xbox Series consoles to their limits. So it just makes you wonder, is the development of the Series S version holding the game back in any way? I certainly do wonder if that is the case. But to be clear, this is 100% speculation on my part, and I'm only mentioning it to say if Rockstar is having trouble optimizing the Series S version of the game behind the scenes, then releasing the PS5 version earlier does make practical sense. That's all. Now, as for evidence for the rumor being false, there is plenty of that to go around too. The easiest one to point out is the fact that the Pastebin article said that the game will release in 2020, which we already know is long gone out the window. Now, you might try to make the counter-argument that back when Sony and Take-Two shook hands on it, the target year of release for this game was 2020. And my counter-argument to that is that Take-Two probably had the knowledge that the 9th generation consoles would release in 2020, and there is no way they would want GTA 6 to be a launch title. There were other leaks and rumors that pointed toward Take-Two wanting this game to release in the middle of the generation when the install bases of the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S become sizable, which at this point in 2025, they are. The next point of evidence for this rumor being false goes back to Mystic Ryan's video, where the leaker allegedly posted some details about the plot of GTA 6, which were, and I quote, "In the title, which will make you a kind of a drug lord, you will start as a small-time guy in Liberty City doing odd chores and small-time thefts, and eventually work your way to Vice City, where you will join a famous gang. You will be tasked to look after business in Liberty City until you are brought back to Vice City and soon become the drug lord." Now, again, as of recording this video, we still only have that one trailer to go off of. I don't know about you, but absolutely nothing in the trailer gives me vibes of what this supposed synopsis says. We are getting Vice City in what seems to be a story of something like Bonnie and Clyde. You could, of course, make the counter argument that one trailer isn't enough to go off of in terms of story beats, but it's just my personal opinion that I don't think what that leaker said is accurate at all. The next point against this rumor's credibility is about how proud Rockstar must be of all of GTA 5's success. They probably want GTA 6 to break those records all over again, and they wouldn't want anything to hold them back from doing that. And if releasing on only one platform would be a barrier to that goal, then they'd definitely turn down any offer Sony or Microsoft would come to them with. Releasing it on as many platforms as it is capable of being released on, which right now means just PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, ensures the greatest chances of it being the biggest entertainment launch that it can possibly be. So what if the rumor is true? Well, I can guarantee there is gonna be a lot of outrage and criticism to come from it. Anytime either Sony or Microsoft makes one of these timed third-party exclusive deals, there always is. There are a whole lot of people who haven't bought a PS5 or Xbox Series console yet, only because they are holding off for the release of GTA 6. I mentioned that the sales ratio is 5 to 1. The gap for install bases between the two consoles is quite large, with the Xbox Series sitting probably at somewhere over 30 million consoles, while PS5 is somewhere north of 65 million consoles. But to block that install base of 30 million people from being able to play GTA 6 on their console of choice is definitely going to make them mad. But if their desire to play GTA 6 as soon as possible outweighs their anger, then GTA 6 will be the system seller it's already going to be, and fractions of the Xbox install base will buy a PS5 just to play it. And I'm sure that's exactly what Sony is hoping for. I mentioned Black Myth Wukong earlier, and the delay of the Xbox release of that game has boosted PS5 sales. Even in the last generation, the release of Tekken 7 boosted PS4 sales, and the Tekken series stopped being exclusive to PlayStation a long time ago. But, assuming it's true, I don't think it will do anything to offset the inevitable success of this game. Either way, like whatever happens, the vast majority of the sales of the game are probably going to be on PS5 anyway, simply because there are substantially more people with PS5s. And speaking of exclusive deals, I think it is a given that Sony will have marketing rights with GTA 6. Maybe there will even be a PS5 Pro bundle with a digital copy of the game. Whenever Sony has done console bundles with digital copies, they haven't charged extra for it, so the price would remain at $700, which is already very steep anyway. Maybe the next trailer will include the release date. If this rumor ends up being true, then coupled with Sony's marketing rights, they'll be able to say, play GTA 6 first, only on PlayStation. So that's pretty much it. If you watched this video all the way to the end, I want to thank you for watching. Please leave a comment with your thoughts if you wish, and until next time, holla at your boy.